Life is much more tenacious than we usually think, even when we take it out of its cradle and expose it to the most hostile environment we know. The void of outer space. A team of scientists has decided to catch a moss and expose him to conditions outside the Earth, giving us a result that opens a way to how to create new ecosystems on other planets. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe and give like. Your support is essential for us to continue sharing more fascinating research on life and science. The protagonist of this story is the Physcomitrium patens, known as primitive moss. Japanese researchers wanted to see what would happen if this little primitive moss was left out of the International Space Station. A logical thing would have been that he would have died instantly since he had no oxygen and the environment was really aggressive. However, he managed to withstand the absolute vacuum and cosmic radiation for 283 days. Not only has it survived, but on returning to Earth it has been planted and germinated. This highlights the surprising resistance of these organisms in extreme conditions. The research, led by biologist Tomomichi Fujita, was based on a premise that seemed to be science fiction. Can a primitive terrestrial plant endure prolonged exposure to unprotected cosmic elements? In March 2022, they launched hundreds of samples aboard the ship Cygnus NG-17. Once at the ISS, the astronauts attached these samples to the outside of the station, exposed to constant cycles of light and shadow. In January 2023, the samples returned in a SpaceX capsule, and the results surprised the researchers. More than 80% of the spores had survived and were able to germinate. In this investigation, the resistance of 3 types of tissue was verified, with the sporophyte being the most resistant. This confirms what was already suspected about its hardness. Terrestrial laboratories usually test stress separately, but in this case it all happened at once, which led to the idea that their survival would be null and void. However, protected spores endured. Although there was a degradation of a type of chlorophyll, the structural and genetic integrity of the plant remained intact, allowing its resurrection upon returning home. Cultivating a moss in the era may seem insignificant, but this finding has important implications for terraformation and the creation of ecosystems on other planets.